Donald Trump could overcome that. Not a surprise here in New Jersey. Also not a surprise here in the natural state, Arkansas, with its 6 electoral college votes. You can see none of the votes are actually showing up on the board, but a lot of times these races can be called just by the early vote alone as these states officially close their polls. So the data slowly loading in, but the Associated Press already able to call that. Again, the dark shaded states are the ones that have been called. The light shades here, like Georgia, like Pennsylvania, those are still in the lean columns. These can go back and forth. They can change colors throughout the night before they are officially called. There's one other color here on the map. It's these white ones. These are the toss-up states. They're so close they can't be shaded red or blue. They're too close to call. They are true toss-ups right now. But again, likely to change as the night goes on. Ohio expected to go red, for example. Virginia expected to go blue. And then there is the North Carolina here down here. That's a true swing state. We might have to wait a bit longer on North Carolina. Rashida?
Have to see if that math keeps mathing. Turning now to Howard University. White House correspondent John Decker is there with Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. John, inflation is dropping. Americans are spending, but Republicans argue the economy is a mess. Have Democrats managed to push back on that?
You bask in the shade of our trees.
Well, they've tried to. Of course, the economic indicators that you just mentioned have indeed benefited in terms of what is happening on paper. But do American families feel it? And what we see in poll after poll is that it's not being felt in middle America. And that's been problematic for the Biden administration. It's trouble for the Biden-Harris administration. And that's one of the arguments that Vice President Harris has tried to make, is that she's trying to turn things around. She will turn things around if she becomes America's 47th president.
Yeah, Vice President Harris says she's offering a new path forward, something we've heard her reiterate throughout her campaigning. How would her presidency be different from Biden's?
Well, that's a question she's been asked out on the campaign trail, and she's had difficulty in terms of answering that question. She can't point to a specific policy, domestic policy, foreign policy, in which she would take a different position from Joe Biden. It's as if she's running as Joe Biden 2.0. That is one of those issues that is difficult for someone trying to succeed a president from their same party, trying to establish that they will be different, at the same time being loyal to the president. That's what vice presidents typically are.
Yeah, difficult for her to separate that baggage from the Biden administration. What has Harris said that she wants to achieve in her first 100 days? She does take the White House.
Well, she said her focus, if she wins the White House, will be on middle-income voters, middle-class voters, working-class voters. That is an argument that she's made over the course of the past 100 days, the Democratic presidential nominee, and it's an argument that she's leaned in on in these final weeks of the campaign, part of her closing argument. That is something that she said she would focus on during her 100 days in office.
All right, White House correspondent John Decker reporting live from Howard University, the vice president's alma mater. We will check back in with you shortly. For now, let's turn over to Graham. Let's check in with him with the latest results.
Let's talk Pennsylvania, guys, okay? Pennsylvania is the top prize electoral votes of the swing states, and it's also a top bellwether state. It's back the winner since 2008. So I know it's early, but what's Pennsylvania look like, Graham?
Let's take a look. Let's take a trip through the Commonwealth here on the touch screen. 19 electoral, as you mentioned, Pennsylvania, such a fascinating place with different pockets of population. Only 9% of the vote. You see Kamala Harris leading with 70%. No way that's going to stay like it is. There's more blue coming in, obviously, so far in this first 9%. Real quickly, a call for you. Kamala Harris has taken the state of Delaware. That's an official call. You see the yellow check. All right, let's go back to Pennsylvania here. So when we talk about Pennsylvania, we start down here in Philadelphia County, most populous in the state. Democrats have to really run up their numbers there. Only 14.6% of the vote, but they are running up their numbers so far. Then we have the collar counties around Philadelphia, the suburbs, Delaware, Montgomery, and Bucks County. Delaware
showed up and voted, and that we do have this victory to celebrate tonight. So thank you. We are grateful. You know, I was so honored 6 years ago when I was elected to be the state's first female senator and elected to that office. And I am ever more grateful for the votes and that election tonight. And my opponent, Gloria, has called to concede. I appreciate that she did that. And I will say this, 6 years ago, my opponent never conceded the race. So I thank Gloria for the call, and I do look forward to working with her on behalf of all Tennesseans. And tonight I share this victory with my wonderful family. My husband, Chuck, is here. And of course, we have Mary Morgan, our daughter, and Paul, her husband, and Jack and Chase. And then our son, Chad, and his wife, Hillary. And our wonderful granddaughter, Mary Brett. And Freeman, who looks like he's going to be a politician. And my sister Karen is somewhere. She was with us a little bit earlier. I also share this time tonight with our federal team, John Adame, who leads our federal team, and so many of our federal staff are here. Our finance team, Amy, Alice, and Taylor, who have led that endeavor and have worked so hard to make certain we had the resources to run our race, and our campaign, and Abby Sigler. Abby Sigler is our campaign manager, and they have led our wonderful team, Savannah and Jolene and Sam, and our fabulous field team. And what a job they have done. Now, we all know that one person does not win a race. It takes an entire group of individuals. And our campaign team, what we decided to do was campaign schools for volunteers, and we trained 703 volunteers who have worked across this state. And we have worked as a team with all of our state reps and our state senators. And our volunteers and our field staff have knocked on over 636,000 doors in this state. We had a great message and great things to say and talk about. And we have had hundreds of thousands more voter contacts. Not only the door knocking, but phone calls, writing notes, putting up yard signs, waving signs at polls and working the polls, making certain that Tennesseans got out to vote. And we have looked at this not as Team Marcia, but as Team Tennessee, because what we decided to do with this campaign was to invest in the next generation of leaders, because we want to make certain that Tennessee remains a conservative state. And that means you've got to raise up other leaders. So it's, we use TEAM as an acronym. Together, everyone achieves more. And we will continue to work together with the governor, with our local and state elected officials, to make certain this state remains the best place in the United States to live, to work, to rear your family. Now, This victory tonight really does belong to the people of Tennessee, because they're the ones that we've listened to. They're the ones that have shown up at meetings all across this state in each of our 95 counties. And the people of Tennessee have spoken, and they have been heard. We have listened to the moms and dads who are struggling to make ends meet when they're paying for gas and groceries every week, to the Angel families who have lost loved ones to the violence and the crime and the gangs from that open border, and those who have lost family members to the fentanyl that is coming across that southern border. We also have heard from so many parents who have worked with me to protect our children and to pass the Kids Online Safety Act. And we've heard from young and old alike who want to make certain that this country remains the country where people can dream big dreams and make those dreams come true. And keeping that American dream alive is something that is vitally important. And we are very mindful that this seat does not belong to an individual. This seat belongs to the people of Tennessee. And the people have pretty much given us a to-do list, and I kind of like it. I really do. Here's your to-do list that we've heard from you. Bring back a strong economy and get rid of this inflation. And make the Trump tax cuts permanent. And get my bill passed that would remove tax on Social Security. Secure that southern border and absolutely build the wall. Restore our place in the world and break a little more China. And to protect our children in the virtual space, and to rein in big tech, and to support our military and our veterans. And I will remind all of you, this weekend we're going to pause and we're going to thank our veterans and celebrate Veterans Day. And if you're a veteran, raise your hand. Let us say thank you now. So I invite all Tennesseans to join with me as we work together. We've got a lot that we want to do. The governor and I have been focused on helping to rebuild and work with the Upper East Tennessee that has been devastated by the floods. And we're continuing to do that. I invite every Tennessean to work with me, fight with me as we protect our freedoms and our liberties, and fight with me so that we have less government, so that we stop the overspending in Washington and get this debt under control. So that we restore our standing in the world and rebuild our military, and we get that border secured, and that we protect our children and make certain that when it comes to protecting our girls in sports, that we know what a woman is and we know what a man is. thank you all. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. God bless you and Tennessee and the great United States of America. Thank you all.
He's like, hello.
Down to less than 12,000 votes in 2020. What are state officials saying about this year?
We were talking. Person, a lot of concern over if some of those folks maybe were out of the state at the time or could be sick, maybe don't have a car, couldn't make it to some of those polling locations. And with the margins so close, pretty much all the votes are really critical here.
Abby Kasoris, I know you are waiting for a press conference to get underway. We will check back in with you later on. For now, you are watching special coverage of Local News Live Election 2024. We have more real-time results coming up after the break.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my third child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Rethink how you get breaking news.
A rooftop collapses at a suburban hotel.
With Local News Live, you get the big national stories direct from local reporters. Reporters from streets and the people. Authentic, unfiltered, live where the story is. Stay close, stay connected, because the big breaking stories are best told by those who live it. Local News Live, news that hits home. Always streaming, always free.
Women are bad with money. The world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at WeSaySaveIt.org.
There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
Welcome back to special coverage of Election Night 2024 here on Local News Live. Taking a look at the live results behind us here at the results desk. Let's zoom in on swing state Georgia, reporting about 63% of the vote already tonight. And you can see Donald Trump with a slight edge over Kamala Harris here now with 52% of the vote. As these counties start to fill in, we start talking about the big blue dot of Atlanta, the suburbs there, very crucial to deciding who will come out on top tonight. If we take a look at some of these key counties, Fulton County, that's Atlanta proper, 70% or so reporting already. Cobb County also at just about 72% reporting. DeKalb, though, only at about 60%. Gwinnett County, a lot of votes still to come in from Gwinnett County. Most of those, or I should say a lot of those, the majority, will go to Kamala Harris. When we go to the northern suburbs of Atlanta, though, Cherokee County and Forsyth County, those are counties that Donald Trump is carrying, and he's carrying them by very healthy margins here. You see almost 70% of the vote in Forsyth County, 70% of the vote in Cherokee County. This is a Marietta area of Georgia. Those are big numbers for Republicans, and Kamala Harris, Democrats were hoping to cut into those, slice into those numbers a little bit. So far, remains to be seen if they're going to have much success with that. The other county that we're watching tonight here, another population center, is Chatham County. That's Savannah. A lot of votes still to be counted in Savannah as well. So still room for Kamala Harris to gain a bit of ground, but right now you see it's light red. That means, Camila, it is in the leans column right now, along with Pennsylvania, still in the leans column.
That's right. Those are the ones we're watching. But speaking of Georgia, it might take a little bit longer to get all of those votes in. 5 counties in Fulton County, 5 in DeKalb County extended their voting hours because of bomb threats. Now, the FBI did investigate and said that none of them were real bomb threats, none of them were credible. Some of them came from Russian domains, but still those hours being pushed back in polling locations.
You know, I wonder also, you were talking about those results, Graham, and I'm wondering, Rashida, you've heard of this, historically, this red mirage, where maybe some of those smaller counties, they're lean Republican, so they are being counted. And then later on, when some of those more populous counties, the cities and things like that, are counted, you get more of a sway over into the Democratic column.
Yeah, I mean, this is a toss-up election. We talk about Georgia, and you see those counties that are closer to Atlanta, like you said, being a little bit more Democratic. What's interesting about Georgia is that Donald Trump was able to take it away in 2016. Biden, that was the only southern state he was able to win in 2020. Graham, Camila, we've been watching this all day. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger coming out talking about election integrity all throughout the day.
Well, one thing I know about Georgia is former President Jimmy Carter voted for Harris.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, the election integrity has been top of mind for those officials, and they have press conference after press conference, and they say they're very confident in the integrity of that state.
Thank you so much for joining us this historic election night. You're taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol. Our live coverage continues on localnewslive.com and our app.
Local News Live.
What are voters looking at?
Tracking congressional races tonight.
The only network with more than 100 local newsrooms across the country. Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my
Local
third
News
child who was
Live.
17
What
at the
are
time.
voters looking
So
at?
cool to watch the adult that you've become, and
network
you
with more
really
than
have
100
done as much
local
for us
newsrooms
as
across the country.
you think we've done for you.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Rethink how you get breaking news.
A rooftop collapses at a suburban hotel.
With Local News Live, you get the big national stories direct from local reporters. Reporters who know the streets and the people. Authentic, unfiltered, live where the story is. Stay close, stay connected, because the big breaking stories are best told by those who live it. Local News Live, the news that hits home. Always streaming, always free. Rethink how you get breaking news.
A rooftop collapses at a suburban hotel.
With Local News Live, you get the big national stories direct from local reporters. Reporters who know the streets and the people. Authentic, unfiltered, live where the story is. Stay close, stay connected, because the big breaking stories are best told by those who live it. Local News Live, the news that hits home. Always streaming, always free.
Let's try this. All right. Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is vape? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go.
Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
Watching a special edition of Local News Live, Election Night 2024. I'm Deborah Alfarone.
And I'm Rashida Kaba.
I'm Grandma
Camila Rueda. Voters deciding between a second term for former President Donald Trump and a first one for Vice President Kamala Harris. But of course, we are keeping an eye on many other races, including governor's races.
Yep, we have breaking news. We have a result here out of North Carolina. Take a look. Josh Stein has been elected the next governor of North Carolina, defeating Mark Robinson, of course, who had that scandal with the pornography website that played heavily on this race, factored heavily on this race. Only 36% or so of the votes counted, but enough in Josh Stein's column to make him the winner in this race. He now becomes the first Jewish governor of the state of North Carolina, a swing state that's still in play tonight, but a big night for him. Democrats winning the top office in that state. How it goes for presidential, though, that remains to be seen. And just because a Democrat won the governor's office does not mean that Democrats will prevail for the electoral votes in that crucial state. That's what we are still watching tonight. But Rashida wanted to bring you this breaking news.
All right, Graham, thanks so much. White House correspondent John Decker is with the Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign in Washington, D.C. John, we are witnessing history in the making tonight. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? I know you are on Howard University's campus.
Well, there's a lot of excitement here. After all, this is an alum of Howard University who will be addressing her supporters here this evening. You can hear that crowd behind me. They're so proud of the fact that this is a person who graduated from Howard University, chose to have her watch party here at Howard University. So what we have right now is a situation where the vice president will likely address this crowd, perhaps in the 11 o'clock p.m. hour, obviously waiting for additional results to come in, particularly from those swing states.
A lot of excitement behind you. The polls actually just closed in battlegrounds, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. How crucial are they to clinching the White House?
Oh, there's a path for Kamala Harris that involves winning those blue wall states. You mentioned two of them right there, Michigan and Wisconsin. Those two states, along with Pennsylvania, provide one path for the vice president to get to 270 electoral college votes. So we'll have to wait and see as the votes are counted in Michigan and Wisconsin. What happens there? We know that votes are still being counted in Pennsylvania. Polls have already closed there. And as for Arizona, that's a state that Joe Biden won, not by much, 4 years ago. And obviously Kamala Harris trying to keep it in her column. The former President Donald Trump hoping to flip that state back into his column for this election cycle.
Yeah, we also know how crucial that 2nd congressional district in Omaha, Nebraska is for the Harris campaign. Now, after so much political polarization, what has Harris said she would do to unite the country if she does win?
Well, what she has said in the closing days of the campaign is delivering this message of unity, saying she wants to reach out to the other side, wants to bring people together. It's a very different type of message that we're hearing from former President Donald Trump. But what she will do specifically, I think that one of the things that we'll see coming out of a Harris administration if she's elected is working on domestic legislation like the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which works so well in terms of bringing Republicans and Democrats together on significant legislation that would impact every state in the country.
All right, White House correspondent John Decker, we will be checking in with you every half hour. Right now, let's turn to breaking news in Georgia, in the battleground state Georgia. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger having a press conference right now.
To remove 432,000 people by being part of that organization, so we have the cleanest voter rolls in the entire country. That gives voters confidence. So we do have secure, fast, and accurate elections. But also, we add another element. I would call it a bonus, but I think voters deserved it. We made sure, and I led to make sure, that we would have fast lines. And today you saw the result of that. With our electronic poll pads, people were checking in, and we were checking it all day long.
CBS News projects former
in 49
President Donald
seconds.
Trump wins
We think
South
that's
Dakota.
awesome, and so did the voters.
Former President Donald Trump wins
And then the average
North
line
Dakota.
time, you don't need water when your average line time is 2 minutes. So you think about that, in 3 to 5 minutes, people were ready, they had their card ready to start
CBS
voting.
News also projects
In and
former
out in
President
10 to
Donald Trump
15
wins
minutes.
Wyoming.
And so that happened throughout the entire state. No complaints about long lines. So we improved on performance, and we'll fight and continue to do that every day for the voters of Georgia. If you look at where we are right now, we are at 5.22 million people, total people that have cast ballots, and we had 1.2 million today, which was a record. Coming into it, we had a record for the early votes, and we had 4,033,000 votes. So you add that all up, we'll be at 5.22. I think you all know that we had some threats, but that just shows you the resilience
CBS News
of our
projects
system
former President Donald Trump
and our
wins
people.
Texas.
We're battle tested. All the early votes from Fulton County, in spite of some of the issues that they had due to those threats, were up by 8 p.m. And many of the other counties are at that same location and in good shape. So right now we have about 3 million votes of the 5.22 million that are up, and they're out there for all of you to see, plus all of America. So that is about 60%. There's a few more that are happening. This is the first time we put into state law that people had an hour to get those up from the counties, and by and large, most of them hit that mark. So they made great progress. I'm glad that we've had the accountability measure, because I wanted to make sure that counties can perform to the voters' expectations.
Okay, you're
So
just
we're gonna
listening right now to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in Georgia talking about voting and the record numbers from today. Let's go live now to Peter Zampa, who's in West Palm Beach, Florida, with the Trump campaign. So, Peter, which issues did Trump zero in on in the final days of his campaign?
Well, Deborah, I think it was all encapsulated really at his closing message event the other week at Mar-a-Lago, where he had a number of folks up on stage talking about personal stories under the Biden-Harris administration. One family came up to talk about immigration, another to talk about his small business not doing well as far as the economy goes, and another who suffered whose son died in the withdrawal of Afghanistan. So really showing you what that closing message was, saying we do not need 4 more years of this Biden-Harris administration. We need a new wave.
How confident is the Trump campaign feeling about a win? As I look to the board now, he is ahead. Of course, it's very early in the night, but what are they saying?
it is very early in the night, and I'm sure they would like to temper expectations, but we can't lie. This Trump campaign is very confident. They have been this whole time. As John's been saying, the Harris campaign is cautiously optimistic. That's not how this Trump campaign rolls. They think they have this in the bag, but they also come out and say, look, the only way we can lose is if it's stolen from us.
Absolutely. Further to that, what is Trump saying about uniting the country if he does win?
Well, he likes to say that he will be a president for everyone and that his months and years of prosperity will make everyone in this country happy. But his rhetoric says otherwise. It's very divisive. Just yesterday, I mean, you want to talk about uniting all Americans. He was talking about one of the most popular people in Democratic politics saying very not nice things, we'll leave it at that, about former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So if he is planning to be a president for everyone, his divisive rhetoric certainly says otherwise.
Peter Zampo, we'll be checking back in with you. Thank you so much. You're watching special coverage of Local News Live Election 2024 as we leave you taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol.
CBS
More
News
real-time
projects
results
Vice
in just 2
President
minutes.
Kamala Harris wins Delaware.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Rethink how you get breaking news.
A rooftop collapses at a suburban hotel.
With Local News Live, you get the big national stories direct from local reporters. Reporters who know the streets and the people. Authentic, unfiltered, live where the story is. Stay close, stay connected, because the big breaking stories are best told by those who live it. Local News Live, the news that hits home. Always streaming, always free.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
Welcome back to the results desk here on Local News Live. Our live coverage continues. Now, we have some other states that have officially been called. Now, let's take a look. These are the ones called. The Dakotas have been called. Nebraska, part of Nebraska, 2 out of the 5 electoral votes. The blue dot is still up for grabs right now. Wyoming has been called. Louisiana has been called. I think those are the new ones. Ohio has also been called since we last talked to you. On the Democratic side, you see Illinois, New York with its 28 electoral college votes also now called. Tightening up a little bit in this electoral college race, but none of the swing states. We're still waiting on all 7 of those all-important swing states, so the night's still going to be very long. You see, as it stands right now, Michigan and Pennsylvania, part of that all-important blue wall, they're light blue. They're leaning toward Democrats right now, but in Pennsylvania, for example, less than 20% of the vote has been counted right now, so still could go either way. Kamala Harris, though, had about 60% of the vote so far with that 20% counted. In Georgia, we're up to almost 70% of the vote counted there. there. Donald Trump with a bit of a lead, about 52.5%, approaching 2 million votes here in Georgia, but still several counties, several key counties like DeKalb, only about 60% reporting. Gwinnett, only about 16% reporting. So again, this could be a red mirage as it's known. It could flip blue as the night goes on. You can't read too much into it still this early in the night. So Camila, along here with me, along with our other wonderful anchors, Deborah and Rashida, we are watching all of this play out tonight, Camila, as we continue to track these results in real time. Still, you know, it's a long way to go. Obviously, it's a marathon. We have to, you know, just take it in stride and count these numbers as they come in. Important that all the votes are counted. And it seems we just heard from the Georgia Secretary of State that things are going well.
Yep, with record-breaking numbers there in Georgia. Rashida is joining us now as well.
Yeah, in less than an hour, polls are closing in Battleground, Nevada. It's one of 7 battleground states. LNL correspondent Victoria Saha is at a polling location in Las Vegas. Victoria, people are rushing to get those last-minute votes in. What's the energy like there?
Yeah, here at Allegiant Stadium, it is busy. It's been busy all afternoon, but as soon as we hit around 5, 6 o'clock when the strip workers started getting off of work, lines were out the door. Earlier today, there was no wait, so Allegiant Stadium was the place to be, but given we're so close to the strip, a lot of those last-minute voters are coming in. So even though the lines are about out the door, I'm told that it's about a 30-minute wait here, but it's going to go by fast because inside, when I went in earlier this afternoon, there was about 98 voting machines with dozens of poll workers helping those folks navigate through. And outside, it is a party. You'll hear the music behind me. They have a live DJ throughout the afternoon. They had a former Raider player to take pictures with those who voted. The Raiderettes here as well. But it's going pretty smooth, even if at 7 o'clock when those polling locations close, and if there's still people in line at 7, which it looks like it might be, because people are still trickling through. Every single person that's in line by 7 o'clock will still be able to vote.
Yeah, you talk about it being the place to be. I can hear the Cupid Shuffle playing in the background. Victoria Saha, thanks so much from Nevada. Well, you're watching special coverage of Local News Live Election 2024. You're taking a look at the United States Capitol. We have more real-time results in 2 minutes.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Rethink how you get breaking news.
A rooftop collapses at a suburban hotel.
With Local News Live, you get the big national stories direct from local reporters. Reporters who know the streets and the people. Authentic, unfiltered, live where the story is. Stay close, stay connected, because the big breaking stories are best told by those who live it. Local News Live, the news that hits home. Always streaming, always free.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now, we've got something to say. Save it.
It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Local News Live, always streaming, always free.
Welcome back. Special coverage. It's election night 2024 in America, and here on Local News Live as we continue to track the map as it fills in. We talked about Nebraska. Let me go in here a little bit more and explain, because it's one of the states that has split electoral college votes. So the state of Nebraska has already been called. It's deep red, but you see these three dots. Those are the other three electoral college votes that are up for grabs. The interesting one is known as the blue dot. It's District 2. It is mostly Omaha, and it is expected to go blue tonight. Right now in District 2, with just under half of the vote counted, Kamala Harris leads about 61% of the vote to Donald Trump's 40% of the vote. That one electoral college vote is crucial for the Democrats if they pick up the blue wall. If they pick up the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here. My heart is so full because I know how hard so many in this state worked. We still have a lot of work to do. There's no question about that. We wanted to see a different outcome, but one thing that I could say, as far as me and my team go, we know that we worked as hard this campaign as we possibly could. And I had the best team I think you could ever assemble. And I appreciate them so much. And I appreciate the volunteers and the people who gave of their time, gave of their dollars, all of these things, because they believed that Tennesseans are better than what it appears from our elected officials. I will continue this fight to elect leaders that care about the human dignity of every single person in this state. That seems to me like a low bar, but at this point, we don't have leaders that respect the human dignity of all Tennesseans. We don't all have to agree. That's not ever going to happen. But we can at least respect the human dignity of women in this state and allow women to be equal. Protecting our kids in their schools and protecting our communities from gun violence. To make sure that we don't have a $7.25 minimum wage in this state. It is unacceptable. And that we expand Medicaid so we're not losing hospitals and folks don't have an hour to an hour and a half to get the care that they need in Tennessee. These are policy choices from the supermajority and from Republicans that are making it hard for some families even to survive, when we need to be making sure that Tennessee's hardworking families are able to thrive. We will continue fighting for all of these states. There is no question there is a lot at stake, and the work does not stop. I am so proud to continue to serve House District 90. I knew when I started out this race that I wanted to serve the people of Tennessee, the people whose voices aren't already heard, those who feel lost and left behind and unseen and unheard. And giving voice to those people is probably the most important thing that I do. Because I've been told so many times going across this state, thank you for standing up for me. Thank you for seeing me. I feel safer in this state because at least I know some folks care about who I am. And it's so important, you all, that we are passing laws that don't single people out and pit one group against the other and demonize groups of citizens, whether it be for the color of their skin or where they are from or who they love or how they worship. I believe most Tennesseans are better than that. And I will tell you that I called Marsha Blackburn and congratulated her for her win. And I asked her if we could please have some conversations and talk about ways that we can stop the hate in this state and that we can change our conversation so we are not demonizing people who don't look or love or worship like us. It was such an honor to go across the state and have people just open their arms to us. We had people that let us stay in their homes. We didn't have to spend money on hotels because supporters would house us everywhere we went. We had thousands of volunteers like I have never seen before. 67,000 donations to our campaign. 67,000 donations and donors. And I'm so proud that more than 70% of our fundraising came from Tennessee. Because my opponent couldn't say that. Only 22% of Marsha Blackburn's money came from Tennessee. And so I'm so proud that Tennesseans got involved, got engaged, and donated because they care about this state and they want to see better for communities. And I promise you, we will fight for that. But I've got to thank some people because it's just remarkable to me. I know how big a lift it is to run a statewide campaign. And before I ever ran, Stacey Abrams told me, she said, you've got to go everywhere and you have got to go where they don't expect you to go. So we committed to going to all 95 counties. And that is a lot. But those people were so grateful that we came, and they opened their homes, they showed up to our events, and they held fundraisers, and we just cannot thank folks enough. But this is just the beginning. We know we're not going to win Tennessee back in one cycle, but this is an uphill battle. And I can promise you, we don't know yet how many, but we're going to flip some state house seats. And we are going to get to work on making sure that we chip away at that supermajority until every voice in Tennessee is heard. But here's some folks that I want to thank. The original team, which was Sarah. Sarah's my deputy campaign manager. She's been with me since 2016. And she works as hard as anyone I know, and I appreciate it so much. And Jacob, who's been with my fundraising team forever. Lauren, who, bless her heart, was my scheduler. I can't tell you, I mean, I could not do that job. I'll just say that right now. When you're scheduling 95 counties and there's this festival in East Tennessee and this festival in West Tennessee, it's not an easy task. And Megan and Jalen, Megan's on the finance team. Jalen was the first person that was sort of my body man and drove. But, you know, when I was thinking about laws I might change, one of them is the rental car law, that you have to be 25 to drive a rental car. So Jalen, when we decided to rent a van for the rest of the tour, he was too young to drive. But became an amazing field organizer, and just, I can't tell you how many people would call me up about my staff and just say, oh, so-and-so is so great. And I just go down to the office to talk to so-and-so because they're doing such a great job. And it makes me so proud to know that wherever I am, I know the folks in our offices are being good to folks and making people happy and being able to get them going and get them busy. So I appreciate that so much. Then my campaign manager, Cyrus Schick, who I have known since he was 12, volunteering at the state party. I'm pretty sure it was 12. And then we had Megan, and she traveled for a while and then also does finance. And then Jason Wiseman came in a little bit later, and he became the driver when we had to have somebody over 25. But Jason has been great. He really cares about politics. He's new to Tennessee, and he's loved his experience of getting ready to drive driving all around and knowing everything about Tennessee now in a lot of really cool spots, because we did find a lot of those. I also found where the best fried okra was, and Trent found out where the best frog legs were. But, and it's tough because Jason was there at 8 a.m. when I don't love the mornings. And I was like, okay, Gloria, how you doing? And I felt like going, "Rrr." But after you get in the car and you get going, you have the coffee, it's all good. Our finance team, Chip Forrester was the National Finance Chair, Rose Huerta, Finance Director, Val Montanez, Sarah Baer, Katie Penland and Katie Magsman, Jacob Kleinrock and Addie Williams just were always there for everything fundraising, pushing me to do call time, because I don't know if you all know how candidates love to try to avoid call time. But it's always a push for that. Then my political team, Michaela, who you met, she came up before Chip. She's done a great job going across the state and talking to the people, bringing in the groups we needed to talk to, just making sure that we're doing that outreach to everybody, because you want people to know that you want to talk to them and you want to reach out to them. But Jack Vaughn came on a little later, and Chazzy Bailey, Joseph, he is here. Dara Hall from Memphis, and she's here tonight. It's so fun to see the Memphis team. And our comms team that was led by Meredith Brasher and Angel Monroe, who is here. And Trent, of course, who did the photography and video. Cam Ferry. Field team started with Callie. She's the field director, and we have Nicole. Jalen's on field team now, and Ruby is in Memphis, or that's where she worked. And then our amazing field staff. Some of you probably met with them if you were doing any door knocking and phone calls. Kate, Fatima, Tyler, Tiffany, Adam, Jenna, Hillary, Lydia, Brooke, Yusuf, Maya, Alex, Gage, Evan, Larisha, and Indwi. So much thanks to them. The state party coordinated campaign team, which was Brian Cordova, Hendrell Remus, and Noah Stewart. Our consulting team, which was Colin Rajero from Conexion, Anna Greenberg was our pollster, Adnan Muslim, who did our mail, Gavri Kuhlman and Reagan Jackson at Battle Axe, Chrissy Heyer from Mission Wired, Matt Palms did research, and Kelsey Garnett did our compliance. And you guys, 67,000 donations mean those donations had to be clear and make sure that they were legit and didn't come from somewhere out of the country. So compliance is really something in a federal election. I had to say all their names because, you guys, it's been 14 long months and everybody has worked so hard. And we did not get there, that's for sure. But thank you all so much for your part. We were going to continue this fight. It's not going to stop. We are not going to stop until we have a blue state that recognizes and cares about the human dignity of every single person. Until we have a multiracial, multi-generational, multi-partisan coalition that cares about Tennessee and cares about electing leaders who care about Tennessee, not the billionaires, not the lobbyists, and not the wealthy and well-connected. So let's roll on. Let's keep going. We're going to get some good legislation out there, and we're going to talk to all the rural counties we can. We've got a job to do, Tennessee. I'm fighting with you, and let's go on and let's see some wins for the blue team tonight.